Andrei, let's start with, we're going to talk about Ukraine, but before that, let's talk about Julian Assange.
Okay.
And he's now free, and he had to plead guilty before going home. How did you find the case of Julian Assange, and how did you find the decision on the part of the United States to just let him go?
Yeah, it's clear Biden needs some points before, this debate and all that and election, considering the fact that he trails tremendously. So why not go and give some bones, so to speak, to this youthful lefty-leaning guys, So, and it's yeah, that's primarily why it happened. But as I already stated, I'm very glad for Julian. I'm really happy that he will have his life back to normal. He will live it, in comfort of his family and loved ones. So it's great. As for pleading, I am on record, including when actually the situation with Snowden and Julian Assange was happening. First, and I understand many people will not like what I say, but in any state, even if you deal with the classified information, which is known to everybody, okay? Once you begin to traffic the classified documents, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, okay? And in this particular case, it was just the government bureaucracy, not necessarily specifically some political or ideological driver, which got Mr. Assange, rolled over with the, bureaucratic machine of the state. That would have happened the same in Russia. They would have happened the same in China. Well, in China, you would have been executed for this type of things. So it's journalism, yes, but it is also, how to put it, it's a very blurred line between purely journalism and what indeed becomes the, trafficking in classified information. And any state, not that it doesn't mean that I like, for example, what happened to the United States and what Washington today is, but in any state, they will react. And speaking of which, if he said, if he helped Snowden to escape, he should have thought about it himself. But evidently the guy, for all his brilliance, evidently as whatever his brilliance is, some, code writing or whatever, he should have thought about it, Was he that naive? Yeah, I guess so. So, but it's good. It's really good news for him, and I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, after more than a decade in prison, that was amazing.
Yeah. He paid his price for, honestly, his stupidity. Let's be frank. He could have been living at that stage in Moscow, very comfortably in the world-class city, and in Russia, safe. But hey, it is what it is. I'm really happy for him. I really am.
Yeah. And let's talk about the conflict in Ukraine. It seems that NATO has deployed an airbase to Romania to maintain F-16s in Romania. And how do you find, on the other hand, we've learned that Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, they're asking for some sort of defensive line at the border with Russia and Belarus. And how do you, when you put these two pictures together, do you think NATO is getting more aggressive toward Russia, or are they planning for something big, a confrontation, or nothing of that nature?
No, nothing of that nature. They cannot plan anything. Pentagon won't plan their operation to getting out of the wet paper bag. Okay, so because it's time now to speak openly that basically the whole generation of American officers who are in planning and strategy are not competent, it's plain and simple. So no, it's all PR. It's all the recycling of the same old things. Yeah, let's do that and pretend that we, put up the base. The message is very clear. So Russia already bombed the airfields, which allegedly those F-16s would have been there. But if need be there, wherever they will deploy that base, Devasel or whatever the hell the name of other places, they will bomb it. So yeah, and there will be no confrontation with NATO, because actually the Washington is scared crapless between me and you, So, and yeah, they want to escalate a little bit. Primarily 99% of it is rhetoric. It's, legerdemain. It's, waving hands. It's, going around making those grandiose statements. The reality is, of course, much sadder. And even today I read New York Times. It's just, again, same old from 1941. Wave of Russian soldiers, waves, they killed 1,000, in a day. It's like, oh God, it's pathetic. Sore losers all around. And again, as I already stated, get any three-star American general, he won't be able to fight, with a battalion in, on this, let alone brigade or something like that. So it's just all, propaganda primarily.
Yeah. And the other thing that happened in Sevastopol, Ukrainian army attack using ATACMS, using the cluster bombs, attacking civilians in Sevastopol, and which was unbelievable when we saw this news coming out, and how the United States, if they knew that, how they let it to happen. This is a big question, because the attack on civilians was not common during this conflict. Russia did everything to not attack civilians. And how did you find this attack?
Well, what can I find? Just go look at the people U.S. military admires, which is, Israeli Defense Force. I mean, I think so. They are two of a kind. So yeah, bombing civilians, killing them, attriting them, starving them. That's pretty much part of the doctrine, if you wish. So, and when you look at this is like, yeah, what do you expect from them? And again, that will continue. Terrorism will continue. What many people forget to say, that obviously during the tragedy in Sevastopol and killing children and women and, so civilians on the beach, uh, there was another, string of the terrorist acts in Caucasus, which was obviously coordinated. And when you look at people who run Washington or London, let alone London, they are vicious genocidal maniacs, most of them anyway. So yeah, people who programmed, which is really, ATACMS is a ballistic missile, okay? So in order for you to launch and to understand what kind of the burnout and what happens during the flight, it flies with the updates by GPS, kind of correcting itself by the radars, whatever the, those things are. And the end of the tail, primarily it's just all about the tying yourself in, which is topographical tie in, giving a very precise coordinates of the initial, launch position. It's done not by Ukrainians, it's done by the United States. And so, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of people who serve nowadays in the United States, So, and that will continue. As tragic as it was, that will continue, because being absolutely desperate and having no honor or integrity anymore, and the United States having an outstanding record of killing civilians, starting from the Korean War, let alone Vietnam, My Lai, all the things. It's pretty much common for NATO, which is, you remember what was happening to, for example, Yugoslavia, when they even bombed the innocent train, passenger train crossing the bridge. They just blew up the train, killing a bunch of children, women. So it's normal for them. So that's the kind of what the West has become. Probably always was to a certain degree. So there is no humanity left in those people, and being desperate, knowing where it is all going, they try their best to at least somehow harm Russia. And there are many fanatics in Washington and in London.
Yeah. The other thing is the use of cluster bombs. We know before sending these bombs to Ukraine, everybody was talking about them. And right now, it seems everybody, the international community, is so silent about the use of cluster bombs, which is so much against any sort of international law. And it seems, how do you find it? Why nobody's talking about cluster bombs?
Oh no, Russians talk, Chinese talk. I mean, the big guys talk. International community is always was on the fence, and bunch of what we call international community, pretty significant part of it is completely dependent on the United States, is controlled through the American institutions, albeit they're disintegrating as we speak. So it always was like that. So, and they, United States tells them to jump, they ask how high. And again, so no, they're part of the international community speaks about it quite, eloquently. But it is what it is. They have nothing left. They don't have unitary warheads left. The same, they don't have unitary, or what is called unitary. It's the explosives, 155 millimeters. So they send the cluster munitions. And again, you have to understand, average politician from Washington or London is actually a sociopath. They don't understand what humanity, they don't have sympathy to people, to any people. They don't have sympathy to Americans, So, I mean, if they kill more Russians, the better it is, for them. So that's the type of people,
When you look at the terrorist attack in Dagestan, and you put it together with Crocus, that terrorist attack in Crocus, do you think that they're just doing this because of the suffering that they can inflict on Russians, or they want to draw a line between Muslim and Christians, Jews who are living in Russia, which means that they're trying to make hatred within Russia?
Oh, both. It's undeniable. They try to, so to speak, shake the situation, if you wish, within Russia. They are not very smart people there in State Department or CIA because they think that they can do it. They can't because they don't study proper history. They don't study Russia. But yes, both. And some of them, as I already stated, for example, for neocons, take anybody from them. I mean, be them on the, for example, which go through all kinds of the media, like Max Booth or Julia Ioffe. For them, the more kids killed, the better. These are sociopaths, and already stated. And when you look at people like Victoria Nuland or the whole Kagan clan, those people don't have humanity left in them. They are psychopaths and sociopaths. So they would like to harm Russia as much as possible, especially against the background of their plans being completely destroyed by said Russia. So they are losers. They have to kind of, lash out somehow. This is a classic, psychological portrait of the narcissist and very ignorant and very unskilled people. So that's what is happening. But of course, yeah, they still believe, like today, the Times of London, which is the main tabloid and a bunch of terrorists supporting so-called British journalists. British will support any kind of terrorism, guys. And they talk about to this Mr. Ponomarev, who was former Duma deputy, and now he hides in London. The guy openly says, you need to kill the Russian political top and all Putin's inner circle. Sure. Can you imagine if I come out and say, yeah, we need to kill the people around Rishi Sunak or people around Joe Biden? What would start in the United States or in London? I mean, again, listen, we are talking about not normal people. They don't have honor. They don't have integrity. As I already stated, take most of the British or American journalists. They have no humanity left in them. So these people are just basically press with whatever regime tells them. Many of them, as we already know, like New York Times, I believe it's Washington Post, I believe it's CIA, the others are. So they represent all those orgs. And when you look attentively what is happening with the combined West, so they are lashing out. They are, how to put it, it's a rage. And they are impotent. They know this. And because of that, the viciousness increases manifold. So, and they hope that they somehow can destabilize Russia. But if not, hey, at least we killed more Russians. That's good. That satisfies them.
We've learned that right after these attacks, Lavrov was talking about that they're going to respond to these type of attacks. And we know if Russia wants to respond, it's not going to be on civilians. No. We know for sure that they're not interested in doing
it's not only interesting. Let's keep in mind the moral factor. and the factor which is actually inscribed in the combat manuals of Russian armed forces, where killing civilians or treating POWs inhumanely is actually it's violation of the code of honor of the Russian soldier, Russian serviceman. So, and it's written, and I quote, by committing these war crimes, you disgrace your motherland. So there you go. So, so there is a huge moral issue there, and yeah, that's not going to be civilians, obviously.
Yeah, but here comes the question: if they do a false flag operation and put it on Russia and say it was Russia, how do you find the possibility of doing this at this particular moment?
Mr. Austin called Mr. Belousov yesterday. Okay, so I can tell you what hasn't been on the record, but I can tell you with a very high degree of probability what have been said. And using the warning about false flags was definitely in this conversation. In the end, it was Austin and United States who initiated this because they understood now the game is over. Russians had enough, okay? So, and after that, I'm pretty sure there primarily there were conditions of how it will proceed from now on. And you have to keep in mind, yeah, they may try the false flag, but I'm pretty sure Belousov told Austin what's going to happen, you know. So, and again, keep in mind, we already have some interesting developments, you know. There are many American bases around, okay? So if they want to have, you know, the body bags or the coffins, you know, so Russia will oblige. Yeah, so if they kill civilians and children, so, well, it's very simple. That's why Austin initiated this call. Russians wouldn't call, but he called.
Yeah. Did you see that Zelensky was talking about that Ukraine cannot continue this war for years? We have to go after negotiations. It was unbelievable to hear this. And we've learned that NATO, Bloomberg reported that NATO allies struggle to agree on long-term funding for Ukraine. This may be the reason that Zelensky started talking about go after some sort of negotiations. But we've heard that Stoltenberg was talking about decades of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, when you put all this together, can we understand what comes out of these mixed messages that are coming out of the West as the real message, as the real mindset behind all of these allegations?
Well, let's model the situation in the most plausible way. Imagine that you are, God forbid, of course, so let us imagine that you are in the rail car whose the whole train is going off the rails into the, you know, the abyss from the some high bridge. So will you have any kind of rational thought about it? No matter how tough and courageous anyone is, you will be having what the issue of adrenaline, just, you know, I mean, you're going to be fearing, you know, for your life, which is absolutely normal reaction. This is exactly what's happening to NATO. They cannot put policy. They never could really. Their policies are primarily based on all kinds of the confabulation and wet dreaming. But now, when the situation deteriorated for NATO dramatically, several orders of magnitude, you wouldn't expect them to come up with any sensible or common sense solution. They are having this issue of the horrendous panic attack. And when you have this, it's very difficult to do anything rational. And as a result, yeah, when your plan went completely haywire, what do you expect? So I don't think so they're capable of developing policy. And the point is, what is policy? They establish some couple of rules, so to speak, make some couple of their, you know, grandiose statement. And I mean, in order to develop the policy, you need to understand what kind of resources you own, really, what you have, and what the final goal is, what will be the, you know, the final state of the affairs, so to speak. You have to envision this. You have to know how to attach, you know, plug in those resources. None of them are capable of doing this. The only thing they know that, for example, there is the real conventional war between NATO and Russia is impossible for a simple reason. They don't, NATO, including United States, simply have no resources to do that. Military, economic, what have you. And they are in a very precarious position, exactly in the falling train, train going off the rails. Or as Ozzy Osbourne would sing, crazy train, So, and as a result, we have this situation, contradicting statements, contradicting actions, or grandiose statements like, well, let's prepare the airfield in Romania for F-16s. Okay, sure, go. Who's going to fly them? If there are NATO pilots that think they can outfly Russian pilots, well, I have a bridge to sell them. I mean, so, it's just, yeah, it's ridiculous. And we observe this. It's a complete systemic collapse of the whole system of the international relations. And actually, we are looking, as we've been talking about it for many times, I will reiterate, we are looking at least half millennium, maybe once a millennium historic event of a complete remaking of the world order. It's already happened partially. So,
Andrei, how did you find air defense system of Russia in this attack? When there was a conflict between Iran and Israel, everybody wanted to know how these air defense systems that Russia gave to Iran would work. And right now we are witnessing that they're working in Sevastopol. How did you find it?
Well, I mean, it's, I will quote Mr. Putin, and Mr. Putin never lies in this respect. That's why he's very conservative. 95% of the targets are intercepted, including all those ATACMS. Panzer S1, actually, even the earlier versions already intercepted it. So there, and Iran has only S-300, which is around their nuclear power station. They have their own knockoffs of their Buk M1 and Buk M2, and they have their own long-range knockoffs of S-300. So, I mean, I don't know, probably not necessarily bad, but in terms of Russian air defense, not only it is the best in the world, keep in mind, it evolves constantly. The technical solutions and improvements and updates are continuing 24/7, especially once you get this incredible data sets, which you take from the battlefield, and you can line up your data, make your appropriate both tactical and operational conclusions on that, and then provide them what is called technical task for people who sit in all those wonderful institutes and military industrial complex plant who deal with this. They introduce all kinds of the improvements, and as a result, we don't know what's coming next after that. We already know that S-500 have been brought up to the front line, and this is a 600-kilometer range thing. You would see probably now some units of the what is called Zrak, which is artillery missile units of Panzer detached from the main body of the car, the carrier itself. This is Kamaz truck usually. And Russians erected, for example, now very high towers, and they're probably about 30 to 40 meters. And you will see the platform there, and you will see that those units, of Panzer standing there. So they have an incredible range of detection by their radar, and they can shoot literally down too, So, I mean, so many things happening there, apart from the fact that I will tell you one thing which nobody has. Russian air defense system and anti-missile system in general, and it's fully integrated. It's completely net-centric warfare system, and it's synergetic in many respects. And it takes a long time to explain what it is, and but it is fully net-centric, and the shooters now, and shooters being single air defense complex, they communicate not only with the central, for example, or battery, or some network thing like Polyana, which can handle 14 shooters simultaneously, 14 missile launchers and things of this nature. They communicate between each other now. So you suddenly have this complete, the literally network, depending on the topology, they go, it's go high topology, and yeah, you can literally turn on. And we already saw it a few years back. you literally can turn on in the main central of the command of the armed forces of Russia, which is like, looks like, Star Wars, all screens and all that. You saw it on the TV. You literally can feed video feed from the, squad commander from the battlefield. And it's going to be in Moscow. Let alone you can, so we're talking here about an enormous computational capability, and yeah, that's what it is now, and it's pretty much unrivaled. Let's put it this way.
Mhm. And the other thing would be, how much does it cost for Ukraine to attack Russia? With these 5 missiles, each of them was $1 million, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I believe ATACMS is even more than that. It's more like 1.5, I think.
Wow.
So, but yeah, it's kind of this range between 1 and 2, something like that.
That shows it's not a viable choice for them to do this. And the West is not capable of providing them to Ukraine. Is there any objective behind this type of attack?
No. They tried to attack Belbek airfield, which contains a large portion of the combat aviation of the Black Sea Fleet, Black Sea Fleet, as the operational strategic formation, has its own actually air force, sort of. So they tried to get to it. They always try to get to it. But the point is, it's not only the fact that they were shooting this during the what is called Holy Trinity celebration in Russia, which is a huge deal. And people, it was wonderful weather. People went to Uchkuivka and Lyubimovka. Lyubimovka is a village, really. I spent so much time there, in my youth, in 70s. There, wonderful sandy beaches and all that. So yeah, and they don't care. As I already stated, come on. I mean, United States now officially supports Azov Nazi battalion. I mean, hello. So what else do you need to understand? I mean, that's it. They support Azov Nazis. The U.S. Congress allowed that. It's everything that you need to know about it. So there you go. The more Russians they kill, the better. Ask any average congressman or senator in the United States if they want Russians dead, they will say yes. Of course, they will not say this like that because most of them are cowards, and but that's what they feel. They really want that. The reason they want that because they're losers. They begin to feel like, their American hegemony was largely confabulated also. The United States obviously could control much part of the world, as Dr. Fadi Lama, which I would suggest you invite, wonderful, brilliant mind, engineer, by the way, PhD in mechanical engineering. So, but he wrote this wonderful book, Why West Cannot Win. It's money power. The only thing they know is money power. They don't know how to fight war. They don't know how to prosecute it. They may win tactical engagement here and there, or do the Turkish shoot, in Gulf War, 1.0. They don't know how to fight, and they know what war is. And as a result, you have this situation. They only have this money power and bloodthirsty desire to see Russians killed, because Russians are the ones who came in and basically broke the whole globalist machine. This is what it is, and so and they suffer now, coping, as they say. The highest levels of coping.
Yeah. What makes the situation even more sad is that the Ukrainian government was talking about that these are civilian occupiers. And they didn't even try to deny that we didn't want to do that. These are civilian occupiers. This is huge. Why you have to say this? It's unbelievable.
Well, that's the nature of the Washington regime today, as I already stated. I mean, they support the genocide by Israel. So, I mean, come on. I mean, what else do you need to, the only thing they have left is to open concentration camps, for example, in the United States for Russians. In London, they would do gladly. They are inventors of the concentration camps. So, this wonderful Great Britain, so it's psychological. We're looking at the mental breakdown. We are beyond the financial, economic, military breakdown. It already occurred. Many people don't understand, but it's already occurred. We are living now in the, so to speak, the consequences as they unfold. But we are looking as always those major, let alone, half millennium or once a millennium events bring, they also bring a serious mental problems, especially for the side which loses. And loses, I mean, it's existential loss. And yeah, expect this, there are very many literally mental people. So, and that's for psychiatrists to, describe this. But we are looking at I went through Russia in 1990s, especially, this is about the same, but this is much more severe because they talked themselves up so much, Again, I mean, if you look at what is military history being taught in the United States, it's completely fairy tales, so it's, they confabulated it, and now suddenly when they talk themselves that much up, suddenly the reality of it begins to dawn, and it's like, it's painful. Some people in Russia, my gosh, from 1990s, 5 million people died. Many people died because of alcoholism, overdosing, because they couldn't take it. They couldn't take the social, cultural, economic change. And yeah, it was essentially genocide of Russian population. And Jeffrey Sachs can tell you some things about it. He was one of the guys who implemented that. So now he has this epiphany, so to speak, and atonement for that. But the point is, here we have the situation times 10. Because United States, for example, and the West, they are not formed as nations anymore. If you look attentively at, there's no France anymore, except for some countryside. Paris is not French city anymore. Marseille wasn't a French city for a long time. And you look at this, I mean, where this European mind, and it's not there anymore. So they lost it.
Yeah. Did you hear that Scholz was complaining that Putin's proposal for peace in Ukraine is supported by those who watch a lot of RT? He said, it's unbelievable. Yeah. Do they really think that they can get anything better than this peace proposal that Putin put out? As time goes by, it doesn't seem that they would get anything better.
No. And next up, as Lavrov stated, this offer, so to speak, which is, humiliating for the West and, already in. And it's still valid for like a little while longer. After that, and its pattern, everybody knows it, who didn't lose completely, their marbles, that next Putin's offer will be much worse than the previous one. And what can I say? You can see it in the media, in articles, all that garbage which they put out there to practically medicate the population of the West. But reality is, of course, they know it's like, they know, okay, let me be a little bit vulgar. Their balls are already in devices, and actually Putin, so to speak, how to say, Putin being generalized Putin. So they kind of, tighten those vices, so, and that's how it proceeds, they cannot release those things from there because it's over, it's in there, and you cannot move it without basically, well, maiming yourself. And that's the process which we'll continue to observe. They will try to, again, how to say it, raise the rhetoric, the level of hysteria, which we observe, and people say it's escalation. It's really not. Many people forget. People do not understand that civilian lives have been affected, and very many Russian civilians have been already killed by Ukraine including, American weapons, American and European weapons. It's just that this time Russia said, yeah, enough is enough, so, and we're going to be talking on a completely different plane. So if need be, they will provide the stream of the body bags, so, and.
We know that recently it seems that Macron was trying to talk with Russians. He said that they're not responding to any sort of communication.
Yeah.
And after that, we've learned that the right-wing party in France is not happy with the decision of sending French troops to Ukraine. That's why Macron is not capable of doing that. And do you think that he was trying to communicate with Russians in order to improve his position in France?
Yeah, yeah. Here, the only thing that those people know is how to keep themselves elected. And it's correct. Mr. Ryabko, first deputy foreign minister today, stated for the record that Russia is considering, which probably going to happen very soon, of downgrading diplomatic relations with a number of the countries. I think so. Russia can easily break off diplomatic relations with United Kingdom. It's not, and probably the level of communication between Germany and France should also be downgraded to the consulate, provision of the consular services, and that's about it. There's nobody to talk in the West. With United States, you have to maintain at least ambassadorial level presence, diplomatic, because if the United States and Russia clash, the rest of the world goes. Other than that, I see no reason to communicate with the Europeans. Macron is nobody. Well, French think that they are so important, they are not. And so he called Putin, and obviously nobody responded, because why would you negotiate with somebody who is very below yourself? He wanted to save the face after his fluffy rhetoric. Russians took some French POWs. So they are desperately now trying to somehow save the face of Macron, but he did what he always does. He BSs. And again, I mean, French are done. They can, they elect Le Pen, let's say this, okay? What difference does it make? None whatsoever. So.
Yeah. It seems that Israel is going to send 8 Patriot air defense systems to Kiev, but they're not sending them directly. They're sending them to the United States, then to Kiev. It's a game. It's unbelievable. Why are they trying to say that, no, we are not sending them to Kiev, we are sending them to the United States? It's the United States that wants to send them to Ukraine.
It's children. These are children, petulant children, very dangerous children. What Israel commits in, in Palestine is absolutely it's atrocity on an unbelievable level. So Israel obviously doesn't want to break off completely relations with Russia. So they will play this game that everybody laughs at. But this is the level, again, I wrote 4 books, my blog for 10 years, more than 10 years. I was talking about the fact that Western elites are kids. They have no skills. They have no self-awareness. They are narcissists, very badly educated, especially militarily. Now we know this. They are amateurs, really. And when I look at this, that's what you expect. They will play the games. Oh yeah, we send this to that, and then it stops being Israeli. So it's just well, come on. I mean, it's just ridiculous. They don't even know. Of course, they read RT, but RT actually is not doing that good of a job. But if you read Russian media, Russian blogosphere, and all that, they're laughing their, pardon my French, asses off, from all that. They do not understand that these people do not understand. They look ridiculous, and they look ridiculous not only for Russians. Very many people in the world see that. It is a humiliation of an unimaginable scale. I never saw anything like this. It's just literally you're dealing with the petulant children who got a hold of the grenade, and that's about it. The only thing they know, they call how to pull this thing, the pin from the grenade, and that's it. But other than that, these are not mature people. We're probably going to see today this confirmation of that during so-called debates. I mean, the whole world will see it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be humiliating. So it's
in the mainstream media in the West, in the United States, in the European Union, they were trying to put out some rumors about Putin's visit to North Korea. They're talking about that Xi of China is not happy with the current relationship between Russia and North Korea. Do you find any sort of reality in this type of argument?
There may be some very limited truth to it. And I have to come here and agree with Scott Ritter on that issue because Scott knows a little bit about this more than me in terms of China. I think so. Definitely, China is not enjoying this. Let's put it this way. It's in no way affects, Russian-Chinese relations, but evidently there are relations between Beijing and Pyongyang are very complicated, are extremely complicated. So suddenly Russians come in and say, okay, enough this BS, here it is. You are plugged in, and they understand, and China understands that in the end, Russia essentially creates an addendum to Russian territory. Many Russians want North Korean migrants, labor migrants, because they have only positive things to say about them. Very disciplined, very law-abiding people, so very kind of, many of them are very nice also, so they do their job, and many of them actually are excellent, craftsmen and things of this nature. So, and suddenly, yeah, Beijing could have been a leader in this matter, but Russia yet again shows the leadership qualities, breaks completely through the sanctions, which Russia also, imposed through the United Nations Security Council, and that's it. China could have been a leader here. They didn't. So I agree with Scott. So it doesn't create any consternation, but there is a kind of like this, yeah, we could have been first, type thing. That's what I think is happening.
The problem is with North Korea, for years they're trying to make a picture from North Korea as a monster just waiting to kill everybody. Why they're doing this, in your opinion? Are they really dangerous in some manner?
I mean, they are dangerous only in a manner that West cannot occupy them and defeat them militarily. It's a Manichaean view of the world by the Protestant elites. It's not definitely not classic sort of Christianity. It's Protestant in many respects, that they need to constantly, well, it's you can look it up even in Bible who they were. It's you have to have black and white thing, that's either evil and we're good, so that's the only thing they know. It's again, it's ethics of Protestant ethics very much omnipresent there. So, and yeah, they have to dehumanize people. They dehumanize Russians, for example, now. So, and it's not just North Koreans. Obviously, I do not want to be misinterpreted, or misconstrued here, that I defend, for example, ideas of Chechnya, and no, North Korea is not a nice place to live. And there is no doubt that it is a very much authoritarian regime. It's there, nobody can argue with it. But obviously it was portrayed as some inherent evil, while in reality, they had to go to this type of the society, because when you kind of get acquainted with all kinds of things happening, from the United States and what they called during Korean War, and people remember what they did, very many not nice things. So yeah, it's kind of, you get it, there's now it's with Russia opening essentially its borders, and as have been pointed out on a number of occasions, if economic part is more important than the military one. And Korean people suffered long enough, so it's time to break this shackles, off, and just let them live their normal lives, whatever regime there is. Okay, so you can be still, authoritarian and still have a decent standard of living, eat nicely, sleep nicely, and things of this nature. Let them be what they want to be.
If I were to assess the foreign policy of Russia, I would say they are genius. And because you see the relationship between Russia and North Korea, Russia, Iran, Russia, China, right now Modi from India, and he's going to be in Russia and talking with Putin. And we know that the roots of this partnership goes back to Soviet Union, and how deep is that? And how do you find this visit of Modi to Russia, and how important is this? Because we know that India and China are not that good as Russia is with India.
Well, it is immensely important visit, as it would be the visit from the person who is the head of the, which probably is the, yeah, we'll say third economy in the world, maybe second. By now, obviously, India is a poor nation, but it's gigantic. And its weight alone, economically and geographically, obviously huge. So when Modi comes, I'm pretty sure there's a lot to discuss this, including harmonization. Harmonization, not doing this feel-good, touchy-feely, sensitive things. No, harmonization of the relations between India and China, and Russia will try to harmonize them. Hey, they will have always some kind of the contradictions, which is normal. But when you look attentively at overall situation with BRICS, my God, they have now the line at the front gate, and there is a talk now about how do we design the those criteria, and how we let people, countries which are obviously Indonesia, immensely important country. It's actually a fairly large economy. It's the largest Muslim country in the world. It's applied. Malaysia, Thailand, and of course, suddenly everybody understands those vibrations from Turkey. Can you imagine Turkey shifting to, this is the largest army in NATO, and it's on its own, it's a large economy. I mean, they don't do that well economically right now, financially and otherwise, but it's objectively very large economy, and it's a very complex economy. It's a productive economy. They produce a lot of things, not only agricultural things, which, so when you look at this, you have to talk to Modi, you have to talk to Xi, you have to somehow harmonize it. What we're gonna do? There is Brazil now, so this is the big player, so how do you even handle this? This is new United Nations, essentially, okay, with the exception of the West. And Russians speak about this pretty openly right now, that, yeah, we have to kind of think, not rush too much, into creating this, because we want to this thing to work properly. And so I think so it's up to, I would say, obviously, these four countries. First three, big three, obviously China, India, and Russia, then Brazil comes in. South Africa, we have some issues there, and it was kind of always on a wobbly side. But once they decide what to do, you will see the process accelerates tremendously. And that's what's going to be on the agenda with Modi. Especially now, when you have this very funny, well, it's not little, it's huge event happened, that now Russia has the direct railroad link from Murmansk and St. Petersburg through Azerbaijan to Iran and to Bandar Abbas, which is, of course, immediately, the ocean route to India. This is huge. I mean, so, and we have those things happening like every day almost. It's impossible to maintain everything in the proper perspective and tie this in together into some kind of logical sequence, because so much is happening. It's just like, oh my God, how do you even factor those things in? But Modi is immensely important. And that's also, I think, so the North-South corridor will be discussed, because India obviously wants to get a lot of goodies from both Iran and Russia. So there you go.
Seems that it's gonna reduce the cost of transportation to 60%, 45%. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge, unbelievable.
Huge. I know.
Yeah. And we've learned that Malaysia he's asking to join BRICS. This is so unbelievably good for BRICS, and it's just expanding and expanding. And we have the BRICS summit on October in Kazan, Andrei, and which is a majority Muslim city. Your take on why Russia decided to put this summit in Kazan?
Kazan, not without justification. They say we are the third capital of Russia after Moscow, St. Petersburg, Kazan. It is stunningly beautiful city. you have to understand also that Tatars, for the most part, they are from the Hanafi Mazhab of Islam, and they are very secular, you know. So you will see that when you look at their beautiful, gorgeous Kazan Kremlin, which is fortress, of course. Kremlin in Russian meant fortress. You will see this magnificent mosque standing next to magnificent Russian Orthodox cathedral. So it is their almost exemplary, not only, well, okay, let me go even further. Tatars for Russians are almost brotherly people now, you know. So it's like, yeah, let's show this. And Kazan is immensely beautiful. So, yeah, that's going to be a big push for Kazan development. They are building now this cluster of skyscrapers there, okay, Kazan city and whatever. So, I mean, if you look at Kazan, it's beautiful, gorgeous, you know. So, and yeah, they want to be the third capital. So, Moscow decided, okay, let's give them the claim to the third capital of Russia, and they will be. So cultural and, you know, very wonderfully diverse and developed culture in Tatarstan, you know, in general. So, and it's beautiful. So, and yeah, why not to show the world how you have to live, you know, especially people of different confessions who not only respect, many people love each other, you know, so there are many friendships and, you know, but yeah, it's Kazan, it's Tatarstan. Tatar people definitely dominate many administrative and other positions, but it's only normal. There are many, also very many Russians who run, you know, Tatarstan in the critical administrative and business positions. So, plus, do not forget, Alabuga, apart from Kazan being the enormous industrial center, famous Kazan helicopter plant, you know, all those, you know, so it's gigantic, you know. So, but now they obviously developing this cluster, which is a microchips and all that. So, oh man, it's just dreamy to live there. Will then tell you. So there you go.
Yeah. Andrei, just to wrap up this session, we know that the European Union, together with the United States, decided to send the first tranche of frozen Russian assets to Ukraine. And at the same time, Hungary is not happy with this decision in the European Union, because they're saying that the Union just was bypassing them and bypassing Hungary's opinion on this matter. And how do you see the position of Hungary in the European Union? Is anybody in the European Union caring what Hungary is talking about?
They don't like Hungary. They obviously don't like Orban. They don't like Fidesz party. It's conservative party. And Hungary are inevitably down the road. Economically, it's already there. China builds the gigantic plants there. Russia builds now two. They're going to be building second nuclear power station. I mean, economically, the only benefit for Hungary of being in European Union is European Commission distributing some kind of the, you know, funds to support Hungary as the member of the European Union. But eventually, and it is inevitably with European Union being in the state of complete, you know, mental collapse, and eventually they will disintegrate economically. Hungary is naturally going to be gravitating towards BRICS. It's already happening. No matter how you turn it, it's like Hungary has gigantic, I mean, you know, economic relations with China, with Russia, and so, and obviously, Orban and Fidesz, they are real conservatives. They really stand up for the country. They don't want any immigration, you know, Muslim immigration from Middle East. They don't want this LGBT, whatever the hell name of this thing. So, yeah, they culturally kind of almost set to fit into BRICS really well. Plus, they have the territorial issue, which, of course, nobody discusses, and they say it's not true, but it is obviously is there. It's the fact of the Hungarian diaspora, a large one, about 200,000 people living next in the what is called Western Ukraine today. So Hungary also stands to benefit eventually from that. There is so much happening economically and geopolitically, especially in the Eastern Europe, it's difficult to even explain. So, and Hungary is they say the black sheep, so to speak. Well, for Russians and Chinese and others, they're good friends, economic friends. You don't have to love Russians or like Russia, but you can obviously benefit doing great business with Russia, for example. Russians don't care anymore who thinks what about them. This chapter is over in Russia. Russia never again will care what Europeans say about them. And Maria Zakharova today, she comes out and on her press, she says, our embassies are overwhelmed by the requests for their green cards and even citizenship and visas from the Western countries. Overwhelmed. We have no time. So many people are moving to Russia. Many Germans who didn't completely lose their mind, they moved to Hungary, for example, precisely because it's a traditional thing, traditional country, traditional culture. So now it's happening with Russia, but it's on a much larger scale, obviously.
It seems that there comes a moment in which Hungary, Serbia, these countries, mostly in the eastern part of Europe, would be part of BRICS without asking being part of BRICS, because there are so many ties between them and BRICS that would make them naturally part of BRICS.
Yeah, de facto. Yeah, you can be de facto, and then de jure, whenever it comes, you will apply, they will review it, and you will get, membership. So yeah, de facto is going to be happening, and it's already happening. It's already happening. We are literally seeing this on the example of Turkey and Hungary. It's obvious that this is happening. So
yeah,